Razorback fans, and welcome back to episode 2 of our 4-part series, looking back at the exciting year of athletics here at Arkansas with Athletics Director Hunter Yurachek. We're going to start off this episode looking back at the men's basketball season. First off, before we get into it, where do you usually sit during these basketball games?
Well, if it's an away game, I generally sit at the scorer's table next to our radio crew. And if it's a home game, I sit next to my wife and kids when they're in attendance here 4 or 5 rows up.
Okay, well, we have more clips to show you.
Okay, of course you do.
And the first one is still one of my all-time favorites from this past year. It was when Arkansas beat Kansas, and you are sitting next to our radio guys, Chuck and Z. And I think you had the same reaction that pretty much every Arkansas fan did. But let's take a quick look.
Arkansas throws it into Kamani, back to Black. Vegas, baby! Vegas, baby! Hogs are going to the Sweet 16! Hogs are going to the Sweet 16!
So, first off, is that your scream that I kind of hear?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's my Ric Flair imitation, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, it's on point. So you're hugging Z. Then you go straight to Chuck. What are your emotions like in this moment?
We just beaten the number 1 seed in our region. I think they were the number 2 overall seed.
Mm-hmm.
A very exciting game, and where we had to come from behind and really kind of gut out a win. And second straight year we've done that in the NCAA tournament, and so. You guys have seen me get excited before. I love winning games. I love winning, and especially the games like that where you can beat someone like a Kansas with their storied program and beat them in Des Moines, Iowa, and where they had 75% of the fans there. It just was incredible. And it's like that Jim Valvano thing. You're looking for somebody to hug. And Z is right there, but he kind of shrugs it off a little bit, and then Chuck happens to stand up, so he's in direct line of fire right there. So,
what did you do right after this, though, when you walk out of frame? Do you remember?
I do. I made my way off the court and over to the tunnel where the team was going to be coming out off the court. It took a while for the team to get off the court because they came right to where where I just left. That's where Coach Musselman jumps up on the table, and I think some of our players. And so I'm waiting in that tunnel for them to come. And I'm kind of out of vantage point of the court at this point in time. I'm like, what in the world is going on? Where are they? It's the longest handshake line ever. But it took a while, I think, to get to the handshake line because Coach Musselman had to get his shirt back on and do his interview and all those things.
I was about to say, what do you think about the whole Muss taking his shirt off and doing the hog call on top of the table with everyone?
There is a method to his madness.
Okay.
There is a method to his madness because the next couple of days I'm with him in a car on the bus out in Vegas, and he's on the phone talking to recruits and potential transfers, and the first thing they all ask him or comment is, "Hey, Coach, we saw you take your shirt off." So it's part of his brand, and it helps to be part of the Arkansas Razorback brand. And everybody knows that Eric Musselman, the guy with the shirt off, is the head men's basketball coach at the University of Arkansas.
That's true. It was in one shiny moment, so, it was in there.
It was in one shiny moment. It was highlighted for the next 24 hours on all the NCAA coverage on each of their networks. And so it's a big deal. And I know it rubs some people the wrong way, and I get it. If I was on the other side of this, it would probably rub me the wrong way as well. But he's our head coach, and that's his personality, and that's his way of celebrating.
Yeah, I may be biased, but I'm a fan. I think it's great. It's also so fun to watch. I mean, he's just so energetic, and it's funny because it's natural. I think that's just honestly him.
Right? I mean, what is this guy right here?
I know, poor guy's just sitting there.
He's just sitting there, just ignoring, like it's not happening at all. He's texting or tweeting out something. At least Eric didn't have to remove his arm sling like he did last year in the Auburn game to get his shirt off.
That was interesting. I forgot about that moment. Then you got Devo in there. I think all the players really feed off of that energy too.
Oh, absolutely they do.
What are some other top moments that you remember when you're looking back on the season?
Well, the trip to Hawaii, not just the trip to Hawaii, but the games that were out there, and especially when we played Creighton, we lost that game, but just a well-played college basketball game that went right down to the wire that we lost, but then the next day bouncing back and beating San Diego State in overtime, and Kamani with the rebound and the buzzer beater to force overtime. Of course, there was a little extra intensity in that game because of Coach Musselman's relationship to San Diego State through his time at Nevada, and there's already some hard feelings between the San Diego State fans and Coach Muss that kind of came to fruition again at the end of that game after we'd won. But that was exciting for sure. We go to Rupp Arena, and we really played probably our best overall basketball game of the year from start to finish, and dominate a Kentucky team on their home floor, and of course just going to the NCAA tournament and getting that win over Illinois, getting the win over Kansas, getting to go to Las Vegas. We ran into the eventual national champion again. And UConn, that was just a better basketball team than we were, and you have to tip your cap to them.
I think one of the things that actually sums up kind of perfectly the way that team battled was Devo Davis, his interview post-game after that Kansas win. Do you remember which one I'm talking about?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, we're going to take a quick look at it just to remind you exactly how it went.
Put in a lot of work. It's crazy. Oh, no, it's crazy. I feel good. I'm glad we came out with the win.
What makes you tear up? What are you thinking about?
Just put in the work. This team is struggling, and we figured it out. And I'm glad we did at the right time, and hopefully we continue to do it.
You earned it. You enjoy every second of this, young man.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
To see the emotion from a player like Devo in a moment like that, just how important is it to have players like that be a part of your program?
Devo's from the state of Arkansas. He's been with this program for three years now. He's the veteran on our team.
Yeah.
He's the leader of this team, and I think Coach challenged him as we were in one of those down peaks of our season to be a leader. And Devo stepped up. He was the first one in the gym early in the morning shooting on his own with the GA, and you kind of saw his play reflect that during the course of the year, and it obviously reflected that in the second half of the game versus Kansas. And I think he was just realizing the moment that he led his team, because that is his team.
Right.
I mean, he's our guy. We were surrounding him with some really talented freshmen, but he was leading them, and he led us to that victory. Without Devo Davis, we don't win that game. And I think for him, as he reflected back right after that game, he realized, man, that hard work, that all paid off.
Yeah, I know he was the one to slap the name on the board when they advanced after that game, and then you actually saw him in the locker room and gave him that hug right there. Did you say anything to him? Do you remember? Or was it just kind of embracing?
I am sure I told him how proud I was of him out and how happy I was for him, because that was his moment.
Mm-hmm. Once again, Eric Musselman has gone to the transfer portal, gotten some really good guys that are coming here next year. You've got a great recruiting class as well. Just what are your expectations for the program going forward?
I have to see some of these guys play.
Yeah,
play
that's
together.
true.
But I mean, my expectations are under Eric Musselman's leadership. I mean, that we're going to be a nationally prominent basketball team. We'll be in the top 25 at the start of the season. We'll be competing for the SEC championship, and we'll be competing to continue to advance in the NCAA tournament. I mean, he's not going to rest just by going to the Sweet 16 and back-to-back Elite Eights. He wants to take a team here to the Final Four and win a national championship, and he's going to continue to try to put the pieces to that puzzle together. He's put Arkansas basketball back on the national map.
Yeah.
And when you have top 5 recruiting classes in back-to-back years, and you go to back-to-back Elite Eights and then the Sweet 16, you beat number 1 Gonzaga one year, number 1 Kansas the following year. I mean, the Arkansas program is back.
Yeah. Any plans for Bud Walton Arena? I know that you've talked in the past about maybe some renovations that could be happening. Are there any updates?
Sure. We have interviewed architectural candidates, architectural firms, and general contracting firms. We have selected one of each, and we will take those selections forward to the Board of Trustees this summer for their approval to move forward with really a study of Bud Walton Arena and some different scenarios, whether it's we do scenario A, which is just the general deferred maintenance that needs to be done to bring Bud Walton Arena up to, we need a new floor, we need a new roof, we need a new scoreboard, we need new seats. So some of those basic things. And then there's a second part of that study that to add premium areas like a club level with the bar and a restaurant and some loge boxes like we have in the north end zone of our football stadium and out in right field at Von Walker Stadium, and what do those premium amenities look like that we could offer our fans. So we'll study that, and then we hope to make a recommendation to our board in January, March of 2024, and then get started on this renovation as early as the spring of 2025.
Okay, well, I know you're going to keep us updated on all of that.
Absolutely.
Of course.
Sure.
We're all looking forward to see what happens with that. But the men's basketball team, like I mentioned, they made it into one shining moment. But the women's basketball team, they got their own commercial.
They did.
It was
yes.
Michaela Daniels with the buzzer beater. Let's take a quick look.
Gerard pulls up, banks it in and ties it up. No timeouts. Here comes Daniels for the three. Michaela Daniels.
I mean, that's got to be pretty cool. I can't imagine being Michaela and being in a commercial like that. But as an athletics director, to see your program be the highlight of it, how great is that?
That was awesome. I mean, if you watch TV the next 24 hours, I mean, she was on so many national news broadcasts showing that shot.
Right.
And again, Walton Arena, University of Arkansas
Yeah.
women's basketball program, it was a free commercial for us by making that shot. And so exciting for her. She's not from the state of Arkansas, but very similar to Devo's, been with their women's basketball program. She's the leader of that program. It has been for a few years, and that was kind of her moment in the sun.
Kind of similar to the men's basketball program. They had a bit of a roller coaster of a season, but just overall, how would you evaluate the year they had?
We got off to a 13-0 start, went to the West Coast and lost two really close games to Oregon and South Florida right before the Christmas break and right before the start of the SEC season. And then we had an up and down SEC season, but we had 4 or 5 of those games that were within 4, 5, or 6 points that could have gone our way. The Ole Miss game at home, we're up 19 at halftime, and they stormed back to win that game in overtime. But if you just could win a game or two here and there, either one of those games out on the West Coast or another SEC game or two, you're in the NCAA tournament for a second straight year. But it is tough to win games in this league. The SEC is a really competitive league, and Coach Neighbors and I have talked in the offseason about how do we get back to winning those close games, and so that the 7-9 SEC season becomes a 9-7 or a 10-6 SEC season. And he's starting to put those pieces to that puzzle together. Michaela Daniels is going to come back for her final year and be a leader of that program. Sasha Goforth has announced she's going to come back and rejoin the basketball programs. And of course, we've got Jersey and some other pieces, and so it's exciting to look forward to what next year holds for that program.
Well, gymnastics just keeps on climbing under Jordyn Wieber. I think I want to start with the fact that I remember when she was hired, everyone was so excited, being a part of the Fab Five and everything. But I also remember people were concerned that she was so young, and to see how much success she's had. What do you think about her and the way that she's been able to handle the program and help it grow?
She has turned out just like I thought she would. She was young, but I knew after I left a coffee shop interview with her, we met at a coffee shop here in Fayetteville. She had been traveling with UCLA to Oklahoma, drove over, said she wanted to meet with me about her open position. Wasn't even posted yet, but and so I looked her up and said, "Oh my gosh, she's 23 years old."
Right.
Okay, but I'll go ahead and meet with her. She was a member of the Fab Five. I'm not going
Exactly.
to Olympic gold medalist. Of course, I'm going to meet with her, but I set an hour or so aside on my calendar, and I think it was 3 hours later. I walked out of that coffee shop and just said she's going to be our next gymnastics coach. She was just mature and wise beyond her years. That international experience that she had, you could just tell she had that it factor. And she's had some learning to do as a head coach for sure, but she's so well respected in the gymnastics world. She's well respected by the student athletes that are in her program and that she's recruited, and she's done a great job putting their gymnastics program back on a national map.
Arkansas posted their program best ever regional score. It was their 19th consecutive regional appearance. You had 2 Razorbacks also go to the NCAA championship on their own. Just how would you evaluate the year that they had under Jordyn Wieber?
I thought it was a great year. We had 2 of our veterans that they had some injuries and some other things going on where they weren't able to perform. So we use mainly freshmen and sophomores in the majority of our events this year. And when you talk about setting record scores and getting over 197 multiple times during the course of the year, and most of that was done on the backs of freshmen and sophomores, we have an exciting future for our gymnastics program.
The gymnastics team has had a couple of their veterans graduate now. It's just a few of the many Arkansas athletes that have graduated. I think we've got 84 University of Arkansas graduates, 98% graduation rate with athletic eligibility. That's just really impressive as an athletics director to look back on as well, don't you think?
Absolutely. It's our 27th consecutive semester with a cumulative GPA of 3.2 or better.
Wow.
We have, as you mentioned, 84 student athletes earned a degree from the University of Arkansas. We'll have their name imprinted on the sidewalks around our campus. And then what we really hang our hat on is that Razorback graduation rate. That's what you mentioned, 98%.
Yes.
So that is for if a student athlete exhausts their athletic eligibility here at the University of Arkansas, meaning they cannot play their sport anywhere else, they're done athletically, did they earn a degree? And 98% of our student athletes who exhausted their athletic eligibility this year did graduate. And over the past 4 years, it's close to almost 99% of our student athletes who have exhausted their athletic eligibility have earned their degree. And that's what, academically, that's what that's all about. You want a young man or young woman to come here and to earn their degree.
I was about to say, so it's like a little bittersweet, as always, trying to send them off. And
Sure, absolutely. We have a really neat winter and spring graduation ceremony just for our student athletes over here at the Faulkner Performing Arts Center. We invite their families, their teammates, their coaches, and our staff. They get in their robe, their gown, and their all their regalia, and we give them a framed diploma. And it really works out well for the spring sports athletes, especially because most of them can't go to the graduation ceremonies on campus because they're still competing in their sport. And so it's a special ceremony for them and to celebrate their academic success, because I still believe that they are student athletes.
Well, the spring sports are what we're going to get into in the next 2 episodes. We still have so much to cover, but that's going to wrap it up for our second episode of our year in review with Hunter Yurachek.